Okay, so let's go back to our business model canvas framework here, and let's move on to number 8. Remember, all of these are going to be integrated with each other. So as you make decisions on which business processes you're going to keep in-house versus which business processes you plan to outsource to other strategic partners, okay, we have to now start thinking about the key resources that you're going to need to start your business. And so I want you to think, for example, about human resources. So with human resources, what we're concerned with here are, oops, it's not what I wanted. Give me a second. Okay, we're just gonna, this says human resources. Think about if you need employees or if you're gonna try to do this with just yourself or with some other partners. Think about human resources in terms of, do you need engineers? Do you need salespeople? Do you need operations people? Do you need marketing people? What kind of human resources are you going to need to be able to do this business? Many startups try to do it with very limited human resources and try to do a lot of the work themselves. But think about that. Another resource that you'll have to consider are physical assets. What kind of physical assets will you need to do your business? Do you need specialized equipment? Do you need a vehicle for transportation? Do you need office equipment? Do you need a building? Do you need land? Do you need other kinds of specialized assets, physical assets to actually conduct your business? So what you're thinking about here is, in terms of your resource requirements, think about the human resource requirements, the physical resource requirements. Now, sometimes you might have intangible, and what I'll show you what I mean in a second here. Intangible. Assets. Here I'm talking about some business models are designed around you in licensing some proprietary, it could be proprietary software, or it could be proprietary products or services, or an invention of some sort developed by someone else that you have to in-license so that you can use it to offer to your customers. So there may be times when resource requirements will have this intangible capacity or intangible issue that you'll have to deal with. And then finally, in terms of resource requirement, I want you to start thinking about, what kind of financial resources do you think you're going to need? Now, in some other classes, we'll talk about bootstrapping strategies, because many times in a startup, you're undercapitalized. And when you're undercapitalized that way, you want to try to minimize the amount and types of resources that you have to come up with. That's where the value of strategic partner relationships can really come into play to help minimize some of these resource requirements. And then it gets down to your cost structure. All right. So as you think about the decisions that you've made throughout this business model design, some issues for you to consider are what I'll call fixed versus variable costs, leading to something we'll be talking about in the class is your break-even analysis. So in other words, as you think about your resource requirements and decisions that you're making with respect to outsourcing and so forth, are there certain costs that are fixed? If you are in a brick and mortar facility, your rent is fixed, regardless of how well or how poorly your sales are going. Your utilities are fixed costs, regardless of how well or poor your utilities, your sales are going. Some of your operations and support people, if you have an administrative assistant or somebody like that, these are recurring monthly fixed costs that have to be met no matter what your revenue stream. Go away doing a lot of sales with your sales levels, such as cost of inventory. If you're not doing well, you keep your inventory, and if you're selling a lot, then you'll invest more in your inventory, and that really is what I call costs. Advertising, marketing kind of costs represent variable costs because you can adjust that, and you can opt to invest in marketing and advertising or not. So a key aspect of your is your fixed versus variable cost. Another thing to consider with respect to your cost structure is what I'll call one time versus recurring. So for example, if you purchase a vehicle, that's a one-time cost. If you maintain that vehicle, that's a recurring cost. The gas, the fuel, the maintenance, the repairs, recurring costs. So what's one-time versus recurring? You may spend money with a lawyer setting up your books and setting up your legal structure. That's usually a one-time cost. Okay. However, your accountant might help you set up your books and records and then help you monitor your cash flows on a recurring monthly basis. That's recurring costs. So what you're thinking about in terms of your cost structure is fixed versus variable costs. One time versus, as you look at your business model design on one page. Now, on this one page, these are extensive conversations that you are going to have with your group. So come up with your first cut of a business model canvas. Now, the value of this, we want to look at, is this really a viable business? And ultimately, when you make these decisions, it comes down to your revenue streams versus your cost structure. Can you generate enough revenue while understanding your cost structure to evaluate if you could do your business in a profitable way? So in the next video, I want to walk you through an exercise that will help get you started on your attempt at business model design.